How's it going, everybody? Welcome to today's stick mobility class. I am Coach Ray, and as usual, thank you for joining me for today's class. So we're going to need quite a bit of equipment for today's class. We are going to be upper body focused. So what we're going to do with some of the exercises is that we're going to focus on things that will be shoulder friendly specifically. And so what we're going to focus on in the strength training aspects is going to be a half kneeling landmine press. So if you happen to have a landmine, that is perfect. It's going to be great for you to actually happen to use that. Based on the range of motion we're going to be working with, we're also going to use the landmine to get in some rows as well. Again, still using that bar at the end of the barbell. And we'll kind of go over that in detail and why it's okay to work with that, particularly with the shoulders. And then we're going to actually focus on a posterior deltoid exercise using 5 pounds. You might not even need to use 5 pounds. You might even could go lighter, like 3 pounds, but something to really try to get those rear delts to fire. And so we're actually going to use that rear delt exercise at the very beginning of the strength training phase to activate those tissues that are involved with stabilizing the shoulder before we even get into the half kneeling landmine press. And so all the drills we're going to do today are going to be upper body and spine focused. So I have a short stick and a long stick with me, and I also have a band as well. So we're going to start off with getting the shoulders a little mobile, moving them around a bit, and then we're going to get into the spine, and then we're going to get into shoulder strengthening and stabilization drills. And so we're going to start with the short stick here. I'm going to take the stick out wide, or take my hands out wide, fingertips on the ends of the stick here, and I'm going to go with a relatively wide stance. I want my feet wider than shoulder width here. I'm going to start with my left hand up nice and high, and I want to make sure that I keep my elbows locked. We're going to do kayaking here. And so I'm going to drive that left hand through, right hand comes up and over, and what we're looking for here is getting those shoulder blades to move as much as we can without any discomfort. So I want to keep it nice and slow, keep it controlled, try to keep those elbows extended so we keep that movement truly at the shoulder blades here. If you need to reduce your range of motion or make those circles a lot smaller to keep it more controlled, I would suggest doing so. You want to try to get as much range as you possibly can. Let's go backwards here. So I'm going to scoop that left hand down and through. Good. There you go, nice and easy. You're gonna get a little bit of a chest stretch here, a little bit of a bicep stretch as that arm goes back. Excellent. 3, 2, 1, and ease off. Excellent, good. And now we're gonna do here, we're just gonna be moving the shoulders going into the side-to-side motion. And so I'm gonna take the stick, and I'm gonna take a relatively wide stance. Now from here, my grip width is going to be wide. If you go narrow, you can. The movement to be a little bit smaller, but also might be a little bit more demanding on the shoulders. So it's better to start off a little wide here. And I want my palms facing in towards my body here. Now I'm going to bring the stick up into an overhead position, like so. And I want to keep those elbows straight. Something I want you to pay attention to is, as I'm in this position, I want to be right overhead. I don't want to be behind. And you can be forward if you need to, but ideally, you want to get directly over your center line. So from here, arms are straight. I'm going to lightly pull the stick apart. I'm going to bring the stick up to that overhead position. And now I'm going to pull more with my right hand, trying to keep my left elbow straight. And I want to get my bicep close to my ear if possible. You're going to feel a little bit of a stretch on that scapula, that interscapular area, the medial scapula. And now I'm going to bring my left hand over, right arm remains straight. Same thing. Going to come back over. We're not pulling a lot, just a little bit. And an arm that you want to remain straight is an arm that's in that overhead position. Switch. Good. Switch. Switch. Excellent. And switch. Let's go other side last time. Back to center. Come down. Ease off. Excellent. We're going to stick with the short stick here. Now what we're going to do is this is going to be a movement of the spine, and what we're doing is we're going with almost like a figure 8 motion, right? So we're getting rotation, we're getting lateral flexion, we're getting extension, we're getting all these different movements or requirements from the spine. So as we do this, everyone's going to feel slightly weird, but what I want you to think about doing is keeping an eye on what the end of the stick is actually doing here. So I'll actually show this from the side. I'm going to go with a roughly hip to shoulder width stance. Toes are going to be pointed forward, and I'm going to keep my glutes a little tight here to keep from getting into my lower back. And so from here, I'm going to first rotate to my left. So that's the first part of the movement. Now that I've rotated to my left, I want to dip that left side of the stick down, and I'm going to come forward and in with my left shoulder forward, and I'm going to do the same thing with my right side. Dip that right side down, up and forward. So you're creating almost like a circular motion with the stick, but we're trying to get rotation, right? Lateral flexion, working on getting through some extension, and then doing that same movement over and over again. We're not compressing on a stick, we're not pulling the stick apart, we're just focusing on moving that spine as much as we can. Make sure you breathe. Now we're going to go the opposite direction. So from now, my right shoulder's forward. I'm going to bring that right shoulder back and down. So now I'm getting that opposite movement. Now I'm getting a little bit more spinal flexion here. As if I'm swimming in a current. And remember, this is all movement of the spine. Let's go a few more. 3, 2, 1, and excellent. Ease off. Take a second. Now we're going to do here, we're going to focus on some rotation, but we're going to add some tension into that rotation. So we're still sticking with the short stick here, and I'm going to go with a feet forward position, roughly about shoulder width, and I'm going to have the bottom of the stick angled in towards me, in line with my center line here. Now my left hand is going to be right about where my chest level is, or sternum height. I'm going to have my right hand on the back of the stick, like so. And what I'm going to do from here is I'm going to push out with that right hand, and reflexively as I do that, my left shoulder is going to kind of pull back. Now from here, I'm going to rotate the stick over. So my left hand is stacked under my right, and I'm going to rotate the stick to my right side. I'm going to hold, and I'm going to really drive with that right hand nice and hard. Deep breath in. Exhale. Breathe in. Exhale. Come back to center. Go one more time. Rotate the stick over to the right. Deep breath in. Try to get that left shoulder towards the bottom of the stick. Exhale. Breathe in. And exhale. Back to center. Come up and ease off. Now we're going to switch sides. We do that same thing again. So right hand's right about sternum height. Left hand is stacked over, driving that stick out. We're going to hinge. Rotate the stick to the left. Excellent. One more time. Back to center. Let's go one more time. Rotate the stick over to the left. Make sure you're pushing out with that left hand. Back to center, and up, and ease off. Excellent, good. Now we're gonna place the short stick down. We're gonna go with the long stick here. Now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna get into the slap shot. However, we're actually not gonna do the full slap shot. We're gonna utilize the slap shot to create tension into getting into some rotation. So we're gonna pull apart on a stick in order to facilitate greater rotation as we're in that position here. And I'm going to step back. I'm gonna go with the relatively wide stance. The stance is gonna be whatever is most comfortable for you. Now remember, we're not lunging side to side here. We're gonna stay in that centered position, but we're utilizing rotation or tensioning rotation by getting the bottom of the stick either at center line or even across center line. So from here, I have my toes pointed forward, slight bend to the knees. I'm gonna hinge back. I get a little bit of a stretch in those hamstrings, and I'm gonna rotate the left end of the stick down to my center line. Now, if you can't get to center line, you can always start here and then move the stick from there. But if you can get to center line, start there. From here, I'm gonna pull the stick apart at 30% tension, and you'll notice that upper back is nice and active, but you're gonna end up rotating towards that top hand a little bit more as you pull apart. I'm gonna ease off, I'm gonna come back to center, and now I'm gonna rotate the right end of the stick down. I'm gonna pull apart 30%, hold that position, ease off, rotate that left end down, try to get a little further across if possible, pull the stick apart. Good, ease off. Gonna rotate the right end down. Again, if you can get a little further across, pull apart. Excellent, ease off. Rotate that left end down even further. Pull apart. Ease off. Rotate that right end down. Pull apart. Ease off. Let's go one more time, folks. Rotate that left end down. Pull apart. Ease off. Rotate the right end down. Pull apart. Breathe. Excellent. Ease off. Come back to center. Stand up and then walk those feet in. Nice and slow. Excellent. Now I do want to utilize getting into snake and reach. Now I know this is a really intense stretch, but we want to try to stretch out those pec tissues. Typically we're pretty tight there. It's really common, especially if you work in a sedentary job, or if you're just somebody who loves to do a lot of bench pressing or a lot of chest movements. Those tissues get super duper tight. So this is the first thing we want to do by actually stretching those tissues, and then we're actually going to get into that posterior deltoid activation I was talking about earlier. So this is where you're going to need 5-pound plates. I have a bench set up here, and you do want to have a bench if possible. If not, you can always go with a bent over position, as long as you can maintain a good neutral spine and you're not getting a lot of excessive movement. Having the bench just makes it so you're not moving a whole lot, and instead are just focusing on getting those shoulders to move in that plane. And so let's go ahead and get that set up first. So I'm all set up. I have my bench here with my 5-pound plates or 5-pound dumbbells or 3 pounds, whatever you happen to have available for you. Now I'm gonna go down to having my right knee on the floor, and I want my back foot dorsiflexed. My left foot is gonna be out at a 45-degree angle. This allows us to get into the stretch quite a bit easier but also allows us to control how deep into that stretch we get. If you're somebody that's super mobile, this isn't going to be a problem for you. If you're somebody who's pretty tight, this is going to be tough and pretty challenging. Now I'm going to have the stick in line with my mid-thigh here. I'm going to have my right hand up over the top, thumb facing down towards the floor. I'm going to take my left hand and I'm going to snake it through, and I want to get the stick under my left shoulder blade. Now what I'm going to do from here is I'm going to walk my right hand up towards the top of the stick if possible. Now for a lot of people, this will be an intense stretch. So you can hold this position. If this is too intense, walk your hand back down. And so we can hold here, right? Focus on your deep breathing. You're gonna feel a stretch in the chest here. You're gonna feel it in a rib cage, especially when you take a deep breath in and exhale, right? Now if I wanna get a little bit more of a stretch, I can move the bottom of the stick more towards my center line. So now I get an even deeper stretch on the chest, and I'm gonna move my left leg more so forward. So from here, breathe. Excellent. I'm going to walk my left foot back out to that 45-degree angle. I'm going to move the bottom of the stick back to the original spot. I'm going to walk my right hand down, and I'm going to slowly come out. Now I'm going to switch sides. And so the great thing about this stretch is that, again, it's attacking all those typical tissues that are super tight that have a lot to do with that overhead mobility. So this is a really, really good stretch to do before we get into any overhead movements, at least in my opinion. So now I'm gonna have the stick in line with my mid-thigh here, left hand up over the top, thumb facing down. I'm gonna take my right arm and I'm gonna snake it through, and I wanna get the stick under my shoulder blade, right? Walk that hand up if you can. Hold this position here, make sure you're breathing. I'm going to take the bottom of the stick, I'm going to pull it across, and I'm going to walk that right foot in a little bit. Make sure you're breathing, folks. Excellent. Walk that right foot out. Gonna bring the stick back to the original position. Walk that left hand down. Excellent. Slowly come out. I'm gonna place the stick on the ground for now. I'm gonna move the pad here. This is where we are on our bench. And so, again, I have 5 pounds here. I'm gonna set these down to the side. So I wanna be in a face down position. Now, the objective here, again, we're trying to disassociate every part of our body from getting into this movement. So I'm laying with my legs on the bench, face down, and as I go through this movement here, I don't want a lot of shoulder blade movement. I kind of want more so is getting my shoulders back into this position. So for a lot of people, even just holding here, arms are straight, and bringing them up is enough, right? You could always start there. However, I'm gonna go with these 5 pounds here, and I wanna keep my arms out straight. So from this position here, I'm gripping the plates here, and I wanna bring them up off the floor, hold 1, 2, and then back down. Let's go 10 reps. Up, good, it's 2, up, 3, up, 4, up, 5, up, 6, up, 7, up, 8, up, 9, one more time, up, 10. Going to set these down, and we're going to sit up and take a second. Now, you should be feeling those posterior deltoid tissues working pretty hard. The reason why we're going from a mostly extended position is to lengthen that lever. So if you're finding that's a little bit too challenging, you can always bend those elbows a little bit more or go into elbow flexion a tiny bit just to make that lever a little shorter so it's easier to control. However, again, you do not have to use weight for this. You can simply just use the weight of your arms to kind of get that activation in those posterior deltoids. If you're finding that your traps are getting active, that means your shoulders are coming up or your shoulder blades are elevating. You want to make sure that they're not elevating, right? You want to kind of keep them in a slightly depressed position just to keep from excessive movement here. Let's go one more time. So we're going to go face down here. And turn those hands, your palms should be facing towards your hips, right? They're not in towards your body. You want them towards your hips. So it's a little bit of an internally rotated shoulder position. Now from here, same thing, arms are straight, up, 1, 2, back down. We got 10 reps. Up, it's 2, up, 3, up, 4, up, 5, up, 6, up, 7, up, 8, up, 9, up, 10. Excellent. Good. So that is going to be our shoulder warm-up. Now we're going to switch into utilizing the landmine for our half kneeling press and our row variation. So we are going to go back and forth between these two, and we want to keep the volume relatively high for these. Again, we want to make this shoulder friendly, so having you load up a ton of weight is not going to be helpful here. So let's go ahead and get into that. All right, folks, so now we're going to get into our half kneeling press. So again, I have a landmine attachment here. If you have a landmine attachment, perfect. That's what you want to go with if you can. If you don't, you can always go with a kettlebell or a dumbbell. However, I'm specifically using a landmine attachment to make this a little bit easier, or a lot bit easier. And so what I'm going to do here is, what we want to focus on is that as we actually get into the press, or get into the motion of the press at least, the leg that's down is the leg that we're pressing. Since my right knee is down, I'm going to be pressing with that right side. So I'm going to pick up the barbell, and I'm going to hold it at the end here. Now, position-wise, I want to make sure that we're not getting into our low back by thrusting our hips forward. We want to keep a posteriorly tilted position. But notice my back foot is dorsiflexed. I want to drive that big toe into the floor. Now from here, I'm just going to press the barbell straight up. Notice at the angle that I'm at more of a positive angle here, meaning that my shoulder, or my hand, ends up in front of my shoulder, not over my shoulder. So from here, I'm going to bring it down. I'm going to press again. It's 2, 3, 4, nice and smooth, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Excellent. We're going to bring it down, and now we're going to switch sides. So again, the great thing about this is we can also manipulate our body position to get to a better overhead position, and I'll actually show you that after this. So now we're going to go with that left side. So left knee is down, left hand's on the barbell. I want to keep my elbow in front. Up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 2 more, 11, 12. Excellent. Now we're going to switch this over into a row. So now we don't need the pad for now. We can actually keep the pad exactly where it's at because we're going to be in a split stance position. So if I'm going to start with the barbell in my right hand, I'm going to have my left leg forward, right leg back. So I'm going to be in this position here. And I actually do want to lean forward on this front leg. I want to shift forward and have my elbow here for a little bit of added support. Now I'm going to pick up the barbell, and what I want to do is I want to aim rowing towards my rib cage. Not here. I want to pull the barbell in down towards my rib cage here. All right. 2. Keep that elbow in a little tight. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 2 more, 11, and 12. Good. Set this down. Now we're going to switch sides. Right foot forward, left foot back. You can go whatever split is most comfortable. If you go with the more shorter distance between your front and your back foot, and that's more comfortable for you, I suggest sticking to that. So right foot forward, left hip is in towards the landmine here. Stay in a nice, good, stable position. I'm going to pick up barbell in that forward position. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, one more time, 12. Excellent. Good. Now, the great thing about that is, again, it's a little easier on the shoulder because we can manipulate it. Also, we have the ability to kind of create a little bit of lateral tension by driving our hand in towards the base of the landmine to create a little bit better activation and stability there. So now we're going to add weight. Don't need to go that heavy. Keep it light. I'm only using 25 pounds. We're going to go sets of 10 here. The objective is to make sure that as we're going through this, we're not taxing that shoulder, putting uncomfortable or creating discomfort in the shoulder. This is meant to actually be very shoulder friendly. So I have my weight loaded up here, and I'm still going to go through with the same movement. Now, what I mentioned before was that we can manipulate our body, or spine angle more specifically, to make it into more of an overhead position here. Now, if we're pressing and the weight's here, but we want to get to this position, we can't move this back. But what we can do from this position is actually move our torso forward. So if you want to get to a more overhead position, once you press out, as you're pressing out, you want to lean that torso forward and then back as you're coming down. That's totally okay to do. Again, if you want to make it a little bit more challenging on the structures of the shoulder. So I'm going to go my right knee down. I'm going to pick up. We get in this position here, driving that back foot down, pelvis tucked. I'm going to press. 1, 2, nice and controlled. 3, 4, 5. Now I'll actually shift forward as I press. 1, the shift forward is minor. 2, 3, 4, one more. 5. Excellent. Legs down, switch sides. So again, this is very, very friendly in terms of getting you to get more comfortable with that overhead position. Bring it up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to do the same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, one more, 5. Excellent. Place this down. I'm going to move this over. Now we're going to get into that row. Same thing. I want to set up. Left leg forward. Base of the landmine's on my right side. I'm going to grab the end of the barbell. Nice, good straight back position. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Keep going. 7, 8, 9. One more. 10. Excellent. Good. Let's go to switch sides. Same thing. Hand on the end of the barbell. Nice, good torso position. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. One more. 10. Excellent. Good. We're going to go one more set here, folks. Doing good. So for this last set, let's actually try shifting our torso forward into that overhead position if you're feeling confident, if you're feeling good about it, right? If you want to add a little bit more weight, feel free to, right? But again, I just wanted to make this class more accessible to everybody, even those that happen to have a little bit of shoulder discomfort and issues. Right knee down, left leg forward. Get to that same position here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Excellent. We're gonna switch sides. Doing good, folks, doing good. Bring it up into that front position. Same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Excellent. We're going to move the pad out of the way. Get this last set of rows in, shall we? Left leg forward, right leg back. Nice, good neutral back position. Tall spine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Good. Let's go ahead and switch sides. Right leg forward, left leg back. Get nice and tall. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Excellent. Good. Now, again, with that, you can do as much as you like with it. Load up the weight as much as you want, of course, safely, or you can keep the weight as light as you want and just focus on the technical aspects of it. This is a really, really, really good regression into the overhead press. As you get better, get more comfortable and get stronger, and your movement quality increases over time of doing this particular drill. Now we're going to get into the pull down. All right, so since I didn't mention before, if you happen to have a pull-up bar, if you can, go ahead and get to one. I do want to actually start to brachiate a little bit, at least hanging from a pull-up bar, just to kind of create a little bit of space in the joint capsule. So we're going to do a little bit of hanging. If you want to hang with your feet off the ground, you can. For me, I am actually tall enough to control how much hang I get. So I'm gonna just kind of sink down into it. Now, how close or far your hands are, this depends on how your shoulders feel. right? If your shoulders feel super tight and it's not comfortable for you to go with a close position, then do not do it, right? You can always go a little bit wider if it's a little bit easier here. So I'm gonna go with a roughly shoulder width position here. What I'm gonna do from this position, have my feet under me, and I'm going to sink down. And I wanna relax my shoulders as much as I can, still gripping. Breathe. Go ahead and ease off. Take a second, and we're gonna go into it again. So get set, and then sink down. You wanna get into a dead hang here. And relax. Let's go one more time, folks. One more time. Get set. Sink down into it. Ease off. Wonderful. Shoulders should feel slightly loose. Now, we're going to work with getting into some shoulder extension. This is going to be mainly to stretch out the anterior delt and the bicep here. So I'm going to go with the short stick. And what I'm going to do here, I'm going to have my feet roughly about hip width, toes are pointed forward. And I'm going to grip the stick with a thumbs down grip. So my left hand is on. I have the bottom of the stick angled in towards my midfoot here. And I'll have my left hand roughly about rib cage height. And so what I'm gonna do from here, I wanna keep control of my shoulder. I don't want my shoulder to pop up. I wanna try to keep it down as best I can. So I wanna create as much space between my ear and my shoulder as I can. So I wanna drop that shoulder blade down, and I'm gonna move this left arm out and back. I'm just gonna hold this position. Now, as we're in this position here, you're gonna naturally feel like your arm is driving into the floor, but you should be feeling that left bicep and even the anterior deltoid stretching a bit here. We're gonna bring the stick back forward. We're gonna go into that again. I'm gonna pull the stick back. You want to get into that shoulder extended position best you can. Breathe. Should feel like a nice little stretch on that bicep. If you're super mobile, you can always have your hands up a little higher. Excellent. Gonna bring it back forward. Ease off. I'm gonna switch. I'm gonna go to the right side. So I'm gonna set at the bottom of the stick. Right outside my midfoot, right hand is on the stick, thumb facing down, okay? And again, shoulder comes down here, and I'm gonna bring the stick behind into shoulder extension. Make sure you're breathing. Come forward. We're gonna go into it one more time. Adjust your hand as you need to. Bring it back behind. And that shoulder extension. Excellent. Bring it back forward. Nice and easy. Ease off. Now we're going to get into some dislocates. We're not gonna go full dislocates because again, shoulder friendly, but we are gonna add in a little bit of tensioning to kind of get close to finishing off. After this, we're gonna get into the bow and arrow to stretch out those lateral lines. So I'm gonna go with the wide grip here. Arms are straight, elbows are locked out. And what I want to do from here is I want to pull the stick apart. We're only going to go at 20% tension for the entire drill. So pull apart 20%, nice and light. I'm going to bring the stick up overhead. And I want you to get it as far back as you comfortably can. Hold, keep pulling apart. Now I want you to compress and try to shorten that stick and bring it down nice and easy. Once it gets down to the front of the hips, pull apart again. Bring it up overhead. Compress. Back down. Pull apart. Up. Compress. Down. Let's go one more time, folks. Pull apart. Up overhead, nice and easy. Compress, then back down. And ease off. Wonderful. Now we're going to grab the long stick. We're going to get into a bow and arrow. We're just going to focus on creating some length in those lateral lines. However, what we are going to do is we're going to create some tension. So we're going to be pulling upwards with that top hand to create a little bit of activation on those lateral lines here. So I'm going to go with my feet at roughly hip width, toes are pointed forward. I'm going to start with the stick about roughly 6 inches outside of my midfoot. You can always adjust and have the bottom of the stick going out wider if you can't get to that bow and arrow position or achieve that stretch. The objective here isn't to get the stick to bend, it's to actually create a stretch and lengthening on those lateral tissues. Now from here, my left hand is roughly about waist height. Thumb comes up over the top, thumb facing down, or hand, sorry. And I'm gonna first drive my hips away. All right, this should already create a little bit of a stretch on the hip and those lateral tissues. Now from here, I'm going to extend both hands out. I'm gonna hold here, and I'm gonna pull upwards with that top hand at about 10–15%. Keep it nice and light. Ease off. Excellent. Rotate the stick. We're going to do that again. Drive those hips away. Extend those hands out. Pull up with that top hand. Ease off. Excellent. We're going to switch sides. So now I'm going to bring the stick over to my right side. We're going to do that same thing. Left hand comes up over the top, thumb facing down. Want to drive those hips away, extend those hands out, pull up with the top hand. Ease off. Excellent. Rotate the stick. Let's go one more time. Drive those hips out, extend those hands out, and pull up with that top hand. 3, 2, 1, ease off, and excellent. And that, my friends, concludes today's stick mobility class. I also want to say thank you everybody for joining. I hope this class was what I was setting out for it to be, which was a shoulder-friendly class that anybody can do. But I will be sure to catch you all next time. Have a good one and stay safe.